And yesterday I posted a video, okay, and I wanted to retouch up on some of what I said in that video. I pretty much meant what I said in that video because that is the way I feel. Words speak. Our actions speak louder than words. On that video, I pretty much meant everything I said. I'm sorry to anybody that's offended by what I said because I'm not trying to offend people whatsoever. This is not something I directed at any one individual at all. I had no intentions with that. And if you listen closely in that video, I clearly told people it includes myself. I said that twice at the beginning of the video. That video included myself. I'm not going to be a hypocrite about this. This is not about being aggressive towards people or anything else. I'm calling it as I see it, how I feel, and what I see. And then the reality is simple. And to people can care about other people as much as they care about themselves. Okay? And until people can back up and really have care and think about their own behaviors, because the simple truth is we have all been programmed. Every last one of us, from the time we were born, have been programmed by psychopaths at the very top. And the behaviors that we represent are of that programming. How we act out and what we do is from that programming. And then, of course, a combination of your home environment as well. Okay, so this is where you have your school system, your home environment, your television set, your books that you read, your magazines. The whole 9 yards, everything around you is shaped the way we are. And our behaviors in today's society is a dog-eat-dog world, running up one another. It's all a game, all an arena, all a sport. We are not caring about other people at all. We're not caring how we talk to other people. We're not caring what we do on to other people whatsoever. We think we can speak to people however we damn well want. And that's where my aggressiveness comes in, because I actually care. And I see the corruption, and I realize what we're doing on each other. And I don't know how anybody thinks that they can actually beat the evil that's going on in this world and overturn a new world order or change what's going on, because there ain't nobody able to do that unless we take action, and we're never going to take action as long as we're doing what we're doing. It's no different than the division that I talked about, and I talked about the biggest divide in the world, the genders. And then what's even more sickening is when I talked about the biggest divide in the world, the genders, how they've totally got men and women completely divided through their programming. They've even got the men divided more than the women. And so the men are literally throwing each other under the bus on a regular basis. Whether it's job related, whether it's dating scene related, it's going on. It's in your face. And this is why I say what I say, and I meant what I said in that video. Because, and I know people say, well, but there's a lot of anger. Okay, well, I understand TFLers, and I understand that really well. And since there's thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of men that are living this, that you all want to say woman hater too. You want to call them names out, okay? If it was happening to you, you done everything society said, and you did your best, and you kept asking, and you kept studying, and you kept doing your best, and it was happening to you, you'd become angry too. That's why I like to use climbing the ladder as an example. Because you would become angry too, and you can't say you wouldn't. To say you wouldn't, you're just playing in denial. You're just turning your head and looking the other way. And the reason I brought up the words that we perceive in society, they're being taught and pushed. Everything you look up from meanings of words to everything in that category. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about being aggressive, you're talking about angry. It doesn't talk about aware, we're talking about awake. It doesn't matter. Pick whatever words you want, whatever topic you want of words that you're saying or words that you put together, and really study it. When you start studying it, you'll realize one more time, it's all programming. It sure is. It's programming. It's other human beings telling other people how to speak, how to think, how to act. What's the appropriate way to speak? What is the appropriate way to think? What is the appropriate way to act? And while they're telling you all this garbage, all you got to do is pay attention around you. You're going to tell me the way we're acting, everything's a competition, running up, one up somebody else, not caring about somebody else, calling somebody out for their wrongs while you're committing the same wrongs yourself, treating other people the exact way you would never want to be treated yourself. And you're going to tell me that them words mean a lot? Then obviously if they mean so much when you're using words, like if you're saying we're mental, TFLers are mental, they're unstable, they're mental, they're always angry, they're bitter, they're hateful, and they're angry. The exact same thing all of you would be. You sure would, because they were human too. When you dumped all over them and dumped all over them and dumped all over them. As a matter of fact, you got your power trips off of dumping on them, didn't you? Okay, this is really where this comes from. Because you get your power trips on dumping on them, and men are so much more divided than women because of the programming and because of wanting to impress a female. It's literally a competition to get a female in a man's eyes, because that's what he sees, that's what he does, and that's exactly what it is. Because the woman, thanks to gender roles and programming, I will say it again, thanks to gender roles, programming, social conditioning, when it comes to that one divide, that area, the women literally pretty much sit back and take their pick. Any child from any candy store, any child could walk into a candy store and pick their favorite candy, or walk into a toy store and pick their favorite toy. There's nothing challenging about that. The challenge is all the work is done for the man, because the man's the one that has to, talk a special way to another human being. Somehow this woman's on some level that you had to have a special skill to communicate with another human being. And that's why we have a pickup artist industry? No. It's not why we have a pickup artist industry, writing books and selling seminars. This has all been handed down to us. They've broke up our communication. This is one of the biggest things you've got going on. And let's look at communications in today's society. You know how many times you see it? People ain't even communicating no more. They got their smartphone in their hand and that's how they're communicating. And then they're not even doing that right. They're writing short words. Laugh. We're laughing out loud. We spell LOL. We're taking shortcuts to make it go quicker. Rather than just call each other and talk to each other. Rather than just go uptown or go to their house and see each other. Our communication skills are completely being broke down and destroyed. And while they're being broke down and destroyed, our ability to behave towards one another has already been broke down and destroyed. Because you're either after the tool, money, and you don't care who you walk on to get more of that for yourself, or you're running around on a power trip, you want to be somebody else's boss, you want to be in control of other human beings. Okay, I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and I could go on with this for hours. But the truth of the matter is this. TFLers have a right to be angry. You say they're angry at women? Well, of course they're angry at women. Because it's the women that are doing the rejection. They're not the ones rejecting the woman. She's the one rejecting them. Though, however, remember, she's rejecting them based on the programming that was passed down by who? Other men. Yeah. See, so when she's not at fault for it, when she's only going with what everybody else is going with, this is the problem. Everybody goes along with what everybody around them goes along and perceives to be normal, to fit in. The programming that's brought down on all of us in society, okay, through everything I've already said hundreds of times, has literally shaped the way we behave. And when we look at the words and we look up meanings and we see how they've even skewed that and give one word umpteen meanings. And if you really look at the words and say, well, I'm going to go with this and this is what this means and this is what you're doing. No, this is all programming. All you got to do is back up, recognize right from wrong, recognize what is right from wrong and what you would want done unto you. What kind of behavior, what kind of things would you be willing to have done unto you? Whatever them are, is how you should treat other people. When you don't want to be stepped on, walked on, cut down, called names, made fun of, blah, 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 on and on with a list of hundreds of things that this could go into, then you have no right doing that onto somebody else. When you do that onto somebody else thinking, yeah, you have the right because you're on some different level of life than they are, maybe you have more of the monetary system, a bigger house, a better car, whatever it is, you're messed up. All man-made. So you have placed yourself in a spot over other people, over man-made stuff. Human beings' emotions and feelings isn't man-made. It can be coerced through man-done programming, because human beings are like computers in a lot of ways, programmable. That's right, and they know this too. They've known it for forever and ever, okay? Seriously, they know this. And you should know that by now. This is why you cannot blame anybody in particular when you look around you and see what's really taking place. This is why it's so important. It has to start on an individual basis. I don't know any other way to say it than it has to start on an individual basis. Individually, we have to be able to recognize right from wrong. We have to have care back. You have to be able to care about somebody you've never met in your life. Regardless of race, regardless of where they're from, you have to be able to care about them as much as you care about yourself. You have to be able to do that. We have to have care back. Because that's the only thing that's going to give you the drive. And everybody else the drive to overturn and stop what's going on. And you have to be able to recognize right from wrong. And be willing to do unto one as you want done unto yourself. And that's going to take a lot of work from all of us, because that's overturning the programming. That is denying the programming that's been put into you your whole life by your society. That's overturning that programming. I tend to say what I feel. And I've always done this way. Always. I say it as I see it and what I feel and what I see going on. And sometimes I offend people. They get mad at me along the way. But what I've talked about recently in my videos when it comes to the dating scene and it comes to New World Order and the so-called awake and the people that ain't awake and how we treat each other isn't directed at one individual, period. And if you feel it is directed at you only, you're totally wrong. You don't. No idea what you're talking about. And if you're offended by what I'm saying, then you might want to ask yourself, why are you offended? What's making you offended? Would it be because I've told you that on an individual basis, Everybody needs to have care? Would it be because I told you that we want to do unto one as we want done unto ourselves? Would it be any of this stuff here? Would it be because I've told you that a lot of people that are so called awake are walking and following what NWO wants them to begin with when it comes to the biggest divide? Would that be what pissed you off, May? Would you be mad at me for that? If you are, then obviously you're recognizing what I'm saying and you're pissed off because you know what? Come on, because there would really be no reason for you to be mad. I didn't say anything that I didn't include myself in. I clearly told people this applies to me too. So really, honestly, think about it. What would you be mad at me for? Because you may not want to take responsibility and backing up and recognizing right from wrong and caring about everybody? Caring about somebody you don't even know as much as you do yourself? Would that be too hard for you? Would it be too hard for you to recognize right from wrong and how you would like to be treated yourself and to try to practice treating others the exact way you would want to be treated? I know that's taking responsibility, and I know that's self-discipline, and I know that's a lot of work. If that's what's pissing you off, I can't do anything for you. I can't help you. I'm not intentionally setting out to piss you off. I understand it's not your fault. The programming is not no one man or one woman's fault. I understand this, and I respect that. I understand it's not going to be easy, and I would never expect it to change overnight because it can't. You got a whole lifetime of it. But it has to start on an individual basis. You have to be able to do this if you ever want to defeat evil. Otherwise, you've already lost. I do get tired of watching hypocrites because I see them all over the place. I've watched hypocrites for years now. I think some of you people forget they're new or just only known me for a year, 2 years, or what have you, that I've been doing this for years now. And a lot of my videos ain't even up no more than I've already talked about this stuff before. And they ain't even up no more because, thanks to censorship, we've yanked them down. I'd start all over. We yank them down. I'd start all over. So I can't do anything about that. No more than you can do anything about what you're doing, but you can recognize this. When I said that the majority of the people that are awake, that are actually really awake, without changing the wording or going for definitional words, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, that are speaking out, want nothing to do with half of the problem. That's like just cutting it right down the middle. The New World Order's caused all these problems, and you're just going to cut out half the problems, disregard them, and leave them in place. They can stay alive and healthy, and somehow you're going to overturn and defeat these people by walking along with them. Maybe you think you're infiltrating them. No, you're not. They're not stupid. They wasn't born yesterday. They know full well what they're doing. And they know full well as long as you're going along with some of their programming, they have you where they want you. If you can't see that, that's not my fault. It's not my fault you don't want to address the other half of the issues because they're too personal for you. And remember, this is not directed at one person. This is directed at everybody because I've been doing this for years. And I know some of you are going to make assumptions, but your assumption would be totally wrong if you're one of them people. Because you assumed it doesn't make it correct. If I've offended you with what I've said in the last few videos, then I guess you can change the channel or you can get over it. If you're a so-called real truther and you want to be real, then you really should back up and rethink what I'm talking about if I'm pissing you off. Because I shouldn't be pissing you off with what I'm talking about. If I'm pissing you off by my topics, then there has to be a reason you're becoming irate at me over my topics. Don't you come at me and say, well, it's because I'm aggressive. Because that's not the truth. That's once again playing into wording, which is more programming. Playing into the programming they've passed down to keep us all fucked up. Because my topics is straightforward to everybody, including myself. And it does have to start on an individual basis, and because you don't want to talk about that's not my issue. You cannot tell somebody else what they're allowed to talk about because you don't want to hear it. Because then we can say we don't want to hear what you're talking about. And we're on the same level as you. You're not above nobody else, and it doesn't matter who you are. You're not above nobody else, and you're not smarter than anybody else. You may have more knowledge in these areas over here, but I guarantee you that person over here that don't have as much knowledge in them areas has knowledge in other areas that you don't have knowledge in. This is not a sport. This is not an arena. This is not a competition. Who's smarter than who? Don't you understand that? Can you get that through your thick heads? I don't know if you can or not. But I can tell you this. My videos as of recently, in the last couple of weeks, have not been directed at nobody. They've been directed at the causes, the people who are acting in these ways, without calling names, pointing out what I'm seeing, what I feel, what I see, and what I think. Straight blunt, straightforward is all I'm doing. And if you say I don't have a right to do that, then you don't have a right to your opinion neither. It's the same thing with speech. If you want to deny me my right to speak, you don't have a right to speak neither. If you want to deny me to my opinion, then you don't have a right to your opinion. See, this is not anything that you should ever be mad at. But I do get a sense people get upset. And one way I can tell is the comment section always demonstrates when you hear real truth. When you hit something that's hard, it's real, even though when you know it's real truth, when it's something that's personal, people tend to go quiet. They tend not to comment because they can't think of anything to comment with without being angry. Or they know you're right and they just, whatever, okay? But the thing is, yeah, it's not going to be easy for any of us to do. Totally with you all on that. I mean, come on. The stuff I said is not going to be easy. And yes, it includes me. I can't leave myself out of this. There's no way. Because this includes all of us. And it's not your fault if you're awake and you're only half awake. You've got to, because the other issue is so personal. I don't care how personal it is. You either fight the whole war or you're a waste of time. That's the way I feel about it. I'm sorry if that offends you. But you become a waste of time if you can't fight the whole war. We cannot turn evil around and stop evil if we don't have the things I've said anyhow. Care, recognizing right from wrong. If we can't have them things, we can't turn nothing around anyhow. And even if we have them things, how out of your mind would you have to be to think that it's okay to turn your selective problems around and leave the other programming problems intact, alive, and healthy? How can you be a hypocrite and sit and call somebody else, blah, 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 going along with the New World Order, and that's exactly what they want, when you're going along with the New World Order yourself and doing exactly what they want, and your behaviors are the other half of the problem that you're not willing to discuss. You can't say, well, some of the behaviors of the programming, yeah, we have to live with some of them. No, we don't have to live with any of them. And it's not going to be an easy pill, but you have to ditch, throw away, dispose of the programming and start going back to right and wrong, right and wrong, right and wrong. You have to stop using words and meanings for words that's all been wrote for programming and division and controversy. Where do you think all your words are coming from that you're studying? Where do you think these dictionaries come from? They just popped up out of thin air? They wrote themselves. Do you follow where I'm going here? Can't say you will or won't. I just wanted to touch up on this. And yes, hundreds of thousands of men across this world are very angry on the other half of the issue that nobody wants to talk about because it's so personal. But I guarantee you, if it happened to you, you'd be very angry too. You say, well, but they're angry at women makes them a woman hater. If it happened to you, you'd be angry at the women too. Don't sit and say you won't because you've never experienced it. This is your inability to have critical thinking skills and place yourself in somebody else's shoes. You have to have critical thinking skills and really place yourself in somebody else's shoes and think about if this stuff happened to you, how it would make you feel. Oh, that's right. You don't want to make yourself feel that way. So you turned your head to it and then started hurling insults at the person further victimizing them. Because that's what people do to TFLers. Or to incels. To MRA, to men's rights activists. That's what you do. Because you're not willing to practice what you preach. Critical thinking skills also includes putting yourself in somebody else's shoes to think about how would this make me feel if this was happening to me, so that you can get an understanding of what they're going through. But because it's personal, because it's depressing, you're not willing to do that. No more than you're willing to back up and look at your own behavior and how you treat somebody else. You're not willing to do that neither. You're not willing to look at right and wrong and address this in an appropriate way. An appropriate way is to really actually start with care. You got to be able to care for that person you don't even know. Regardless of what race, regardless of what belief they have, you have to start there because you got to have first, going to have care back, real care, before you're going to have the drive that you need to defeat evil. Then you've got to recognize right from wrong. Not man-made rules, not man-made words, dictionaries. Simple old school right from wrong. And you got to have critical thinking skills to be able to place yourself in somebody else's shoes, regardless of how personal it is. Because until you do that, you're not going to understand. Okay? And sometimes then you might still struggle to understand, but if you really put yourself in the shoes, then at least you'd be able to understand why there's so many angry men. Because you would be angry yourself if this was happening to you. And for the women, it's no different than, it's the same thing, man. You gotta be able to put yourself in that person's shoes and think about, well, if that was happening to you, how would that make you feel? What would you do? How would you feel? Okay, Because it's the only way you can get an understanding to what and how they feel. Then you got to look for the causes. And when you do that, you're going to discover your programming, your behaviors based on what? This is why it's so important to overthrow, to throw away the programming. It's very vital. And it has to happen. Until these things come together, we will never win. Because you can never overturn evil. Never. See, we have all already lost. We are not in a fight until we can do these things. Then you better remember where these people got their power from. Us. And only us can stop them. And it doesn't take warfare, guns, guerrilla warfare, anything to stop them. It takes the masses on an individual basis, one by one, working on themselves and seeing it, and then realizing it. Because when the masses stand down, don't cooperate no more, they suddenly don't have a military no more. They suddenly don't have a sheriff's department, a police department, and anything anymore. They suddenly lose their power. But I guess that's probably above most IQ, so I'm going to get out of here. But that's what I had to say. So if you're offended at anything I've said recently in my videos, get over it. I have a right to my opinion, what I feel and what I see. You don't have a right to tell me I don't. I'm not directing this at one person at all. I've even included myself deliberately because I have to, because it's only what's right. So you cannot call me without calling yourself. And if you're angry, get over it. If you don't want to do it, I can't make you do it. And I'm not going to ask you to do it anyhow, because you have to first want to do it yourself. But just understand this. Until we all decide that we want to do it, the things I've said, nothing will change.